All right. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Hope you're doing well, and God bless you if you're watching this video. I know there are a lot of people still affected by this ice storm. I think Nashville reported that by February 8th, that's when the last customer should be getting their power back, just to give you an idea of what's happening in some parts of the country. But if you're watching this video, like I always say, this is a posted live stream, so if you want to interact and be a part of the live streams, make sure to please like the video, turn on your notifications, subscribe, or leave a comment. That helps out a lot. And for those of you joining the live stream, thank you for being here. Make sure you guys please like the stream. On Sundays, we tend to push back the timing by like an hour or two, just so you guys know. Throughout the rest of the week, we typically go live on 10:30 Eastern every day. So there's a lot going on right now. So on Sundays typically speaking is when politicians, lawmakers, they go on the mainstream media and they sort of trash talk back and forth. That's what Sundays is all about. It's always been that way. And then on Monday, we typically get some big news. That's how it always goes for some reason. So throughout this video, you'll notice a lot of it's going to be like interview type interactions. I mean, one of the biggest pieces of news we have right now is Donald Trump pretty much allowing or unleashing for the full force of the federal government as far as protecting federal buildings and protecting federal assets. We'll go through this statement, but also there's a bit of a twist in the statement. President Trump is also saying, if you're a Democrat city and you guys are going to want to do whatever you want to do, whether that's protest, we're not going to help you unless you ask for help. We're going to protect the buildings, but if you guys want to destroy your city, his own words, we're going to allow you to do that. So we'll get into that. We also have Kristi Noem appearing on Fox talking about the Homeland Security mission, the continuation of it. We have some Don Lemon comments. I mean, we have a lot going on. You guys are going to find this interesting, I think. Chief Bovino was spotted in Las Vegas, hanging out, having a blast, apparently. We also have some drama with California's mask ban on ICE agents. We actually have pushback from Chief McDonnell. Chief McDonnell runs the LA Police Department. He's not a fan of this. And this shouldn't be a surprise to you because this mask ban, although it's an ICE mask ban, actually bans pretty much everybody from wearing masks. So we'll get into that. We have a lot to cover. We also have protests that occurred in Eugene, Oregon and Portland, Oregon. Yeah. I know this was a long intro, but just wanted to set it up for you guys. So here we go. Again, make sure you guys are please liking the stream. It's great to see all of you guys, and here we go. So this is from the president. I have instructed Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem that under no circumstances are we going to participate in various poorly run Democrat cities with regard to their protest and or riots unless and until they ask for help. We will, however, guard, and very powerfully so, any and all federal buildings, and we have some proof of that, by the way. Last night, federal agents were not messing around, by the way. I'll show you guys that in a second. Well, later in the video. Federal buildings that are being attacked by these highly paid lunatics, agitators, and insurrectionists, please be aware that I have instructed ICE and or Border Patrol to be very forceful in this protection of federal government property. There will be no spitting in the faces of our officers. There will be no punching or kicking the headlights of our cars. And there will be no rocks or brick throwing at our vehicles or at our patriot warriors. If there is, those people will suffer an equal or more consequence. And by the way, he was asked about that, the suffering of what exactly he means. Don't worry, we have a verbal statement from President Trump here in a second. In the meantime, by copy of this statement, I am informing local governments, as I did in Los Angeles when they were rioting at the end of the Biden term, that you must protect your own state and local property. In addition, it is your obligation to also protect our federal property, buildings, parks, and everything else. We are there to protect federal property only as backup. So he's sort of shifting the blame, not sort of, but really shifting the burden more so on the local authorities here. I mean, this is really reminding me of what the federal government was arguing with Portland. Like, hey, we're supposed to be on the same team here. Why are you guys not helping? we are there to protect federal property only as backup, is that it is local and state responsibility to do so. Last night in Eugene, Oregon, these criminals broke into a federal building and did great damage, also scaring and harassing the hardworking employees. Local police did nothing in order to stop it. We will not let that happen anymore. If local governments are unable to handle the insurrectionists, agitators, and anarchists, we will immediately go to the location where such help is requested and take care of the situation very easily and methodically, just as we did the Los Angeles riots 1 year ago, where the police chief said that we couldn't have done it without the help of the federal government. Therefore, to all complaining local governments, governors, and mayors, let us know when you are ready, and we will be there. But before we do so, you must use the word please. Let me know what you guys think about this statement. Remember that I stated in the strongest of language to beware ICE, Border Patrol, or if necessary, our military will be extremely powerful and tough in the protection of federal property. We will not allow our courthouses, federal buildings, or anything else under our protection to be damaged in any way, shape, or form. I was elected on a policy of border control, which has now been perfected, national security, and law and order. That's what America wants, and that's what America is getting. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Quite the statement. Quite the statement. Now, we will be getting to Eugene, Oregon a little bit later in the show. Last night, there were some clashes. Also in Portland, there were some clashes. And in Los Angeles. We'll be getting to that a bit later. Just wanted to start the show off strong with a President Trump statement. With this more use of force and using the word, suffering. Let's see if he'll hold to that. Now, he also posted this recently. Border Czar. Tom Homan is doing a fantastic job. He is one of a kind. Thank you, Tom. Reaffirming his support for Mr. Homan. All right, let's start with this. So, Pam Bondi last night. She's been a lot more active in the media. You guys are probably noticing this. And you guys have also probably been hearing a lot more from the Trump administration singling out or isolating these like ICE trackers or protesters who go above and beyond just protesting. It looks like the Trump administration is really trying to arrest more people within that category.
As a minister starts preaching, Pastor Parnell is wonderful, the nicest man. He was shocked. They all come in, they were caravanning there. Cars bumper to bumper, all of them, the 9 we indicted, all caravanning together. They storm in that church from all directions, start screaming, chants in unison, horrible chants. One man screams, "This ain't the house of God, this is the house of the devil." A little girl later recounted that she thought her mom and dad were going to be killed. Parents were blocked from getting upstairs to get their children out of Sunday school. Some of the lucky women ran out the side door, falling on the ice, legs up in the air. One woman hurt her arm so badly she had to go to the hospital. Parishioners were blocked from exiting the church.
And by the way, this is all in the indictment. Pretty much everything Pam Bondi is saying is in the indictment. We've already gone through that like 2 days ago in detail. It's 14 pages.
John Lemon, on video, blocked one of them, screaming, yelling at the pastor. That's illegal in this country. When we say God bless America, we mean it. We're going to protect America. And if you do that in any house of worship in this country, we're going to find you, we're going to indict you, and I'm going to prosecute you.
And for the people who out there say, oh, they had a First Amendment freedom of speech, they had a right to be there, what's your response to that?
Title 18 prevents that. That's not accurate. This is a house of worship. You also have a First Amendment right to worship freely and safely on a Sunday morning.
Okay, so again, just showing you guys some comments from Pam Bondi. We haven't heard from her a lot up until like a week ago. To my understanding, she's still in Minnesota with her team out there. Now, let's get to this. Here's President Trump making a comment about the first comment we saw as far as, are you really not going to help Democrat cities unless they ask for help? And here's what he has to say.
No, I let them ask us if they want help. You know, they're always complaining. If you go in, they complain. They complain no matter what. You know, we brought crime to the lowest point in the history of our country, 125 years, 1900. Think of it. year. Think of that, 1900. Can you imagine? We have the lowest crime in the history of the country, despite the fact that our country was riddled with a lot of bad people from the Biden open border. But we've taken a lot of them out. We're at the lowest point in history. We have the least number of murders in the recorded history of our country. That's incredible. But honestly, the crime-ridden cities are all Democrat-run cities. And if they want help, they have to ask for it. Because if we go in, all they do is complain. But if they want help, they can ask for it.
Now, I don't know if this is a distinction between these federal operations. Like, for example, in Memphis, the Trump administration just sent in federal agents, sent in that federal surge. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. So I will be keeping you up to date with that. Because we know the Trump administration has already isolated particular cities as far as, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Portland, Springfield looks like they're on the list. New York City's on the list. Down in New Orleans. So I'm assuming this is sort of a separate category of if the Trump administration wants to do a federal surge, they'll do it. But if you guys are struggling to keep and maintain security in your city, it looks like the Trump administration is not going to want to help out with that.
They're going to need help. Los Angeles is an example. We went in, we solved it. The chief law enforcement officer in Los Angeles said they couldn't have done it without the federal government. A week later, he said they didn't need the federal government. So we don't want that.
Alrighty. So those are President Trump's statements on that. And Kristi Noem this morning went on Fox actually to speak also on these continuation of federal operations as far as like deportations and stuff like that.
We have secured the border. We've driven down the murder rates and the crime rates to historic lows in this country, saved hundreds of millions of lives by interdicting drugs across the country and in our maritime borders. We've seen the left violently react, perpetuate violence and mob rule in our cities in retaliation for President Trump enforcing the law. And we're going to continue on a tactical plan to confront this violence that they're bringing to make sure we still continue to do the right thing. We're going to enforce the law, focus on the successes that we've had for the American people and bringing public safety to them. And we're going to go into this next year delivering even more results.
So, yeah. Again, you guys are going to always keep hearing that, reaffirming this year especially. I think the Trump administration learned their lesson as far as when you go into a city, you're going to probably get a lot more pushback than realized, which is why in 2026 we are hearing, hey, if you're part of these like ICE tracking groups or observers, you can protest, but once you start to cross the line, it looks like the Trump admin, again, singling out that particular category of group organizer or pushback.
And carry out lawful immigration enforcement operations without being demonized, spit on, without their vehicles being kicked in by agitators, many of whom are paid. And I know the FBI and Department of Justice are looking into these organized crime rings of these leftist agitators who have been attacking our law enforcement in a very sophisticated manner.
Alrighty. And I think you guys have heard, obviously, about Signal chats and group chats that's been circulating. Kash Patel himself has made a comment on it that they are looking into it, but other than that, we don't get too many indicators as far as what exactly that all means. But recently, this popped up. So this is going to be Representative Randy Fine just filed legislation to criminally investigate Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan for her involvement in anti-ICE operations. So, what's today? Yeah, it's February 1st. We're about a month into 2026, and as you guys can see, the Trump admin has really upped the ante here, guys. It doesn't look like the Trump admin really wants to focus on those clashes like you see in Portland and prosecuting those individuals. It looks like they're going on a way bigger scale here. I mean, this is a lieutenant governor.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan seems to be the only one.
And I apologize for the audio, but it's quiet on their end. Here we go.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan seems to be the only one creating chaos and anarchy or whatever it was she said in her clip. It appears from these signal chat groups that have been used to frankly organize a militia in search of an insurrection in Minneapolis. These are not peaceful protests by random people like you with your sign that you showed before the break.
See, like I just said, again, I think in 2025, there was a lot of focus on that localized level of the individual protester. Not even talking about somebody with a sign, maybe somebody who threw a rock at a federal agent, and people wanted the Trump administration to, look into stuff like that. Now we're talking again on the organizer level, the possibility of people either funding or running it or the involvement. Again, this is a lieutenant governor.
These are organized and paid for government-fronted militias. And Ms. Flanagan appears to be one of the key organizers of it. So I've introduced legislation that would create an investigation of her. And if she's found what appears to be the case, then she would get arrested and go to prison. Because you can't have states organizing militias to fight the federal government. We had a civil war over that 100 years ago.
Okay, so yeah. That's happening. And again, for those of you saying, why are you not in dark mode? I apologize. I'm not tech savvy, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know how to go into dark mode. And for those of you who don't even know what dark mode is, that means the screen turning from white to black. So I apologize about that. Now, this clip specifically focuses on President Trump being asked about, what do you mean by suffer equal or greater consequences? For those of you just joining, great to see you guys. In President Trump's statement he made yesterday, he used the word suffering within the context of, we're going to push back as a federal entity if you guys are going to try to destroy federal property. So the president actually was specifically asked about that, and here's what he has to say.
Mr. President, back to your post on ICE protests, what did you mean when you said people will suffer an equal or greater consequence?
Well, if they do anything bad to our people, they will have to suffer. I'm sorry. If they start spitting in people's faces, punching our people, punching our soldiers, our patriots, they will get taken care of in at least an equal way. They're not going to do that. Like, you see it, the way they treat our people. And I said, you're allowed, if somebody does that, you can do something back. You're not going to stand there.
Now, look, I do want to point out the indication we were getting with swapping out Bovino, bringing in Tom Homan. The indication we were getting from the Trump administration is possibly trying to tone it down a little bit as far as working on the ground in cities around the United States, but also in Minneapolis. Now here we are a week later. I think President Trump saw the clips from Eugene, Oregon, where there was a lot of clashing. We'll get to that later. And it looks like the posture is already sort of changing on a broad scale, and the president looks like he's done with it. If you spit on an agent like he's saying, you're going to be getting the equal amount back.
And take it. If somebody spits in your face, that will not be a pleasant thing for the person that spits. We're not letting people spit in our soldiers' face as they stand at attention, and they're not allowed to do anything. If they throw bricks at a car, at one of our vehicles, that are very expensive vehicles, they're going to be met with very, very serious force.
Now, I also want to point out, I know that President Trump most likely pays attention and sees the clips. I mean, everybody who talks about President Trump says he watches everything. He's up like 24/7. But I think with Tom Homan being in Minneapolis as a direct line of communication, I think President Trump is now a little more privy to what's going on the ground. And I'll give you a specific example. When I was covering Portland from June to October, literally every single day, we just assumed President Trump knew what was going on, but maybe he's just waiting to deploy more federal assets. And for those of you guys who were watching that at the beginning of the summer to like midsummer, you may know that there was no backup. Kristi Noem did not show up to Portland. And this is not a knock on her. I'm just saying she did not show up to Portland until like late August, September. President Trump admitted on Fox News he didn't really know what was fully going on up until now, and that was about a 3-month gap. So with having a direct advocate like Tom Homan on the ground and giving these briefings, I think there's a lot more attention with situations like this as far as pushing back against protesters. Because President Trump was not necessarily specifically talking like this last year. He obviously did not like the violence back and forth. but specifically talking about bricks through the windows and stuff that we see as far as pushback, looks like he's actually referencing things we're seeing on the internet now.
I come from this as an absolute secure border Democrat here, and that's where we're at. Like, focus on the secure our border, deport all the criminals, and that we can figure out now. And I also say now, some of the agents wearing masks, I think primarily that's driven by people are going to dox those people. That's a serious concern too. Absolutely, they could target their families, and they are organizing these people to put their names out there. So don't ever dox people and target their families too. So that's part of the churn as well now too.
Okay.
All right. I think in yesterday's show, Senator Fetterman was called not a Democrat by a fellow colleague of his. So that is Mr. Fetterman talking about, again, paid organizers, the wording he's using. And thank you so much for the very generous $10 donation from James. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for all your generosity and being here. And if you are new here, again, make sure to please subscribe, turn on your notifications, and like, so you guys don't miss these live streams. We do every single day, 24/7. Now, other big news, continuing on from that. A Biden-appointed federal judge denied Minnesota's lawsuit to end Operation Metro Surge. I don't know if you guys heard, but there was a push to try and tone it down with the ICE agents, quite literally halt operations in Minneapolis, or in Minnesota, sorry. Kristi Noem says this is, and that was denied. This is a win for public safety and law and order. There are just a few of the criminal illegal aliens we have arrested in the last week. And Homeland Security has been posting more and more mugshots, if you will. Pam Bondi also reiterating another huge win. A Biden-appointed district judge denied Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison's attempt to keep ICE out of Minnesota. And I think you guys know this, but it should be reiterated. ICE has always been in Minnesota. This should not be shocking to anyone that ICE is there. Now, of course, the argument from Minnesota side is that there's so many ICE agents and federal assets that it's causing a disruptance to businesses, financial crisis, if you will. But this is nothing new. I mean, federal operations have always continued as far as ICE agents in Minnesota.
The White House and the president are open and willing to listen. I know the president said aboard Air Force One last night that those conversations and discussions will continue. Last week, the White House invited moderate Democrat senators to come to the White House and to discuss their concerns so that we can hear them out and at least see what they are trying to put on the table. Unfortunately, that meeting was blocked by their leadership. So these conversations will continue, to Maria, and ultimately the president will be the decider on any policy changes. But what I know in talking with the president and seeing what this administration has done over the course of the last year is that President Trump is never going to waver in the commitment that he made to the nearly 80 million Americans who voted for him to deport illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws to get here and then have committed further crimes of violence against American citizens. And
yeah, again, this shouldn't be that crazy of news for you guys. For some reason, again, when they made that change with Chief Bovino and Tom Homan came in, there was an indication that the Trump admin was going to be toning it down. No, I think the Trump admin in 2026, it's actually quite the opposite. I think they're going to increase as far as their deportations and their numbers, because now I think they know what to do and not to do as far as conducting operations on the ground with other federal assets, not only ICE and Border Patrol, but partners.
And that's why ICE and Border Patrol are true patriots. They need to be respected. The Democrats need to agree to stop demonizing them. We've heard despicable rhetoric from people on the left comparing ICE to the Nazi Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force. That is egregious language that has led to the increase in violence, threats, and attacks against ICE agents who are brave men and women who put on the uniform to enforce our nation's immigration laws. So the Trump administration is always going to be on the side of law and order, and we want to remove these illegal alien rapists, murderers, pedophiles, despicable individuals from our country to protect the homeland. And the president has done a phenomenal job at doing that. And that's why murder rates in this country, newly released data show, are at the lowest in recorded history.
Okay. again, just trying to provide you guys the evidence that if you're hearing people say or notion that they're going to be turning it down, I think it's quite the opposite. Okay, let's go here. Here's what I mean. Speaking about Chief Bovino here, this is going to be, let me get his name real fast. Mr. McCall.
It did change, though, because prior administrations interpreted flight risk as not potentially showing up for a court appointment. The Trump administration interpreted it as the guy might leave the scene. And they justified some of these warrantless arrests and encounters under that. Is that too broad? Because that's part of this roving group that you're talking about.
Well,
right?
correct. And due process applies to all persons under the Constitution. It would apply to them as well. If they're caught in the net, though, they have to be dealt with. Look, this is going in front of the courts right now.
And Democrats want to argue about this. They want changes.
Yeah, and the courts are throwing out a lot of these cases. Actually, and you're having violations with U.S. citizens being arrested unlawfully. So the American people support the deportation of criminals.
I just want to point out he is a Republican, by the way. Republican out of Texas, if you guys can see that. Just trying to get a messaging from all sides here.
Deportation of criminal aliens, violent offenders. What they don't support is excessive use of force. And I believe Bovino crossed the line. I think the president was correct in telling him to get out of there. I would advise.
Still have a job?
Well, he's going back to his prior station.
Right.
But I would advise the secretary and the president to involve Tom Homan, and he should have been there from day one, and to utilize his expertise and his talent.
Why was he cut out by Secretary Noem?
I don't know all the inner workings within DHS on that. I can tell you, though, he is the consummate professional when it comes to ICE removal operations.
Okay, so yeah, people are still talking about Bovino and questioning, does he still have a job? What's going on? But I thought you guys would find it interesting that we are hearing this, that President Trump, he kicked Bovino out of, or removed, maybe a better word, out of Minneapolis for being too aggressive. But now, as we are reporting, we have almost an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth type statement, where if you are a protester and you spit on a federal agent, you're going to get it back to you. I mean, even using the word suffering. So again, I just find it interesting that that's what's going on. There's this notion that like Bovino was kicked out for being too aggressive, and now we have a pretty much an order like, hey, you're allowed to be aggressive. Now, Bovino was recently spotted here in Las Vegas. When is this? Yesterday. A clip surfaced yesterday of Chief Bovino. I figured, why not play it real quick? Never mind, I can't play that. Does not have the audio. But yeah, Chief Bovino spotted in Las Vegas. So let's continue. Negotiations are definitely going to be the hot button topic this week. If you guys are unaware, we are technically in a government shutdown, partial shutdown. And now there's back and forth as far as what Democrats want, what Republicans want, as far as reform or maybe not reform.
There are billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars for ICE. They're going to keep operating even if this DHS funding goes away. For now, it affects FEMA and TSA and other things. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says this. He says one of the things they want to do, in addition to negotiating these reforms, they want all the money that ICE is now spending, or where it's allocated, no matter where it comes from, to be tagged with those reforms. If there's money you guys have already approved for ICE, can any reforms reach to that money?
We put all of that funding in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut. And I'm glad that we did, because we had to fix the crisis that was created by the Biden administration over the previous 4 years. They opened the border wide. It was absolute chaos. We allowed, by some estimates, 20 million illegal aliens to come into the country, and many of them hardened, dangerous people, criminals. We've got to get them out of the country. So we had to front load the funding. That will be there. And as you noted, it doesn't matter what they do to the current DHS bill, those operations will continue.
Yeah, and we've talked about that time and time again. Even politicians have gone, even Fetterman has gone on Fox and was like, guys, we keep talking about ICE. They have their money already. Maybe we should be focusing on something else. That other focus is most likely going to be wanting to possibly impeach Kristi Noem, by the way, so look out this week for that. In yesterday's show or the day before, I think I pulled up like 4 clips of people wanting to push for Kristi Noem's impeachment. Now, one of those reforms asked for is, of course, the mask removal. There's different asks in the reforms, but the big one, of course, you guys know, this has always been a push for removing the mask of ICE agents.
Conditions that would create.
They don't sound like they're going to be ready to cave on some of these things. They want masks off of these ICE agents. They want them wearing ID that tells exactly who they are. I mean, are those the kinds of things that you think any of your members were going to cave on?
Well, those 2 things are conditions that would create further danger. I mean, Tom Homan told Leader Schumer himself, I was part of the conversation in the Oval Office a few days ago, he said that's one of the demands that I'm not going to be able to implement. I have to protect my officers. And when you have people doxing them and targeting them, of course we don't want their personal identification out there on the street.
And
they don't.
Just yesterday, Katie Davis Court, journalist Katie Davis Court, was in Eugene, Oregon, and on one of the street poles was a picture of an agent and his information. This was common in the summer outside of the Portland Federal Building where the ICE agents were. We were starting to see pictures of the agents, their information. I cannot show you guys that, obviously, but that is always going to be the main argument as to why federal agents are wearing these masks. Now, I just want to pivot real quick. I thought you guys would find this rather interesting. Talking about the masks, we have pushback in California. Now, there was already pushback. I think you guys know this. There's a statewide mask ban, and there are counties who have more strict of mask bans. But I do want to show you guys, even in some of these Democrat states or cities, you have pushback from the police forces who don't necessarily like this.
Good morning. Well, this new law, which bans federal officers from wearing these masks, went into effect January 1st. But it was just yesterday that LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell said his department will not be enforcing this ban, and here's why.
LA Police Chief, mind you, the Los Angeles Police Department is not liking this. And I apologize for the audio that's on their end. Sorry about that.
The reality of one armed agency approaching another armed agency to create conflict over something that would be a misdemeanor at best or an infraction, it doesn't make any sense.
Chief McDonnell went on to say the state's federal mask ban is not a good public policy decision, adding in his opinion it was not well thought out due to the possibility of conflict between law enforcement agencies. The ban on face coverings, known as the No Secret Police Act, was introduced following immigration raids across Southern California that began last summer. The law went into effect on January 1st, but is not being enforced because the Department of Justice is currently challenging it in court.
And at the very beginning of this, when there had to be a development of how the mask ban was implemented in California because police unions were not liking it. To my knowledge, I'm almost positive not state troopers, the highway patrol, they're not affected by this. There were agencies who came out at the very beginning of this and said, we don't necessarily support ICE, but this mask ban is actually affecting us. We're the ones who are getting affected by it because, this is a state law. We are in the state of California. Those are federal agents. We have superseding issues here. And so I just want to show you guys, even on the localized level here, the police department is not necessarily a fan of this in Los Angeles. Okay, now moving on to Mr. Don Lemon. Some Don Lemon comments, if you will, the back and forth. The debate about Don Lemon is strong right now.
The president just arrested 2 journalists. Now I think that he's almost in double down mode. I thought he was in de-escalate mode. Now he's having journalists arrested.
Well, he arrested journalists for committing crimes and then filming themselves committing crimes and then talking and admitting on camera to committing those crimes. So, just because you say you're a journalist doesn't mean he violated the FACE Act in 18 U.S. Code Section 241, among others.
You think he used well, look, just because you know the number of the statute, bravo, you probably know the accuracy.
I am curious what you guys think. Do you guys think it was a good idea to arrest Don Lemon and the other journalist, who many people are not talking about? Do you think it was a good thing or a bad thing?
read the indictment.
But they also want to throw the Ku Klux Klan Act after him. The indictment, as a lawyer, let me tell you, not an impressive document. And you should read into why that felony complaint that they tried originally got signed. Well, no, they're worried. They're worried about the application. They're worried about the application.
They like Don Lemon.
How did Don Lemon or Georgia Fort use force or intimidation? How did they use force or intimidation? Fundamental part of the mens rea of that statute. How?
Chris, I think it's laudable that you want to defend your friend. Don Lemon said on camera that the purpose of the event that he was actively participating in was to traumatize people.
Now, I don't know about you guys, you know, every once in a while, whenever something like this happens, you do have like random TikTok lawyers or Facebook lawyers pop up. Maybe it's my algorithm. Again, you are innocent until proven guilty, but from all the lawyers I have seen or listened to, a lot of them are saying this is not great for Don Lemon. Again, innocent until proven guilty. But almost every single lawyer I have listened to and seen said that the biggest issue is it's live. There are some audible statements that could be problematic, and he was there. There's no denying he was there. Don Lemon says he was there, but he was a journalist. So, yeah, maybe again it's my algorithm, but that's what I'm seeing personally. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
And he said that is good. That is what that is for. He went in there. He admitted on camera. You're believing the woman who organized it for some reason. You're not believing Don Lemon, your own friend. He said that he knew a secret. He knew about what they were doing in advance. He wouldn't say it on camera.
Yeah,
he served coffee to his fellow activists in there. He violated the FACE Act. He conspired against rights. And it's a very important point. You cannot claim First Amendment protections while you actively violate the First Amendment rights of others. My friend, Chris Bell, his wife, Joan Bell, was in prison for 27 months over this for an abortion clinic.
All right. And we talked about it in yesterday's show where a lot of lawmakers were actually referencing Don Lemon getting arrested and tying that into DOJ talking points, ICE talking points, how like the Trump administration is overstepping. Enoch52, thank you for the very generous $5 donation. He says, Don Lemon filmed himself chanting with rioters. Reporters don't join in with rioters while reporting on them. That's what Enoch52 has to say. Now, I'm not sure if that live stream is still up or video. I still haven't checked, but I do know that video was up for a while last time I checked, which was like after the fact, the day after.
Lemon crossed the line from reporting. So when do you believe that Mr. Lemon crossed the line from reporting on what was going on to criminal activity?
Conveniently missing from what you just showed, George, is the appellate court and a judge on the appellate court who said just a few days later there was clearly probable cause and it wasn't even a close question. So, and by the way, a grand jury, which is what our system has set up to determine whether probable cause exists, concluded that there was probable cause. That indictment is now public. Everybody in this country can pull it up and read for themselves and see what the grand jury found that Mr. Lemon did. I am not going to comment on the charges specifically because it's not appropriate, but it's interesting that we talk about the First Amendment right. You have a right of freedom of religion, which is just as important as any other right that we have. And George, I don't know if you've watched the videos or read the indictment about what it's alleged that Mr. Lemon did, but if anybody in this country thinks that that is, quote, independent journalism, I would like to have a conversation with you. Now,
and one thing we did see in that live stream, if you guys watched the video, probably one of the, I don't know if it's the most viral clip, but Don Lemon was interviewing the pastor. And that's actually in the indictment, by the way. Don Lemon was interviewing that pastor. In the indictment, it says the pastor was surrounded, basically unable to move and get out of there, in a sense. And so, yeah, you guys, if you want, you can read the 14 pages and quite literally cross-reference what's out publicly as far as the videos and the live stream.
He's obviously has a very good lawyer. He can raise defenses in court to the extent he wants to, but nobody in this country should feel comfortable storming into a church while it's ongoing and disrupting that church service and thinking that we're just going to stand by and let that happen, because there is a statute that does not allow that to happen. It doesn't matter if you happen to be a former CNN journalist. It doesn't matter if you're a rioter. It doesn't matter if you think you're peacefully protesting. You are not allowed to do that.
Alrighty. So a little bit of comments on the Don Lemon situation there, and that was actually reposted by Rapid Response 47, the official White House Rapid Response account, by the way. Now, I thought you'd find this interesting. Jim Acosta posted this. Exclusive House Oversight Committee ranking member Robert Garcia with the Oversight Democrats calls on DOJ Inspector General to investigate arrest of Don Lemon. You must investigate the shocking abuse of power highlighted in this incident. Now, I am very curious what's going to happen with this. No matter if you're on the right or a left, whenever you open up these investigations and you sort of go all in and you want to know what happened, sometimes you might not get the answers you want. And that could really happen on both sides, by the way, not only if you're a Democrat or Republican. So I will be keeping you guys up to date with those findings if they make it publicly available. But it looks like they are looking into the arrest of Don Lemon specifically. They're not talking about the other journalist. Again, I just want to point that out. There was another journalist there.
People that went in and interfered with a group of Christians' First Amendment rights to worship peacefully, which is protected by the First Amendment. Don Lemon is saying now he was just there as a journalist. But
and he's saying he was protected by the First Amendment for being a journalist. Yeah.
Right, but you don't actually have, just because you say you're a journalist or just because you're holding a camera does not mean that you get to participate in the commissioning of a crime, and that's something all journalists should know. There have been attacks on journalists, such as when David Daleiden, Kamala Harris went after him for his role in uncovering.
Actually, last night during LA protest, a bunch of journalists were being surrounded, whether right-leaning or left-leaning, journalists were being surrounded by protesters and agitators.
What Planned Parenthood had done with the trafficking of fetal human body parts. And you want to protect journalists, but being a journalist or saying that you're a journalist does not give you the right to interfere with people's First Amendment rights to worship. And he's on camera harassing the worshipers, being part of the effort to keep them terrified worshipers from being able to leave. He said he wanted to confront them with the facts about immigration enforcement. And so this is, you know, his defense will be made, but it's not something that people should take lightly, this invasion of a worship space.
Alrighty. So I think you guys get it by now. It's going to definitely be a heated legal battle for sure. Here's what President Trump had to say.
Very good job.
Did you have any knowledge of the arrest of Don Lemon before it happened? Did you have any conversation?
No, I don't know anything about the Don Lemon thing, but he's a sleazebag.
If you didn't hear that, President Trump called him a sleazebag. Again, when they're in the airplane, the audio could be muffled, but I'll play it again. He calls him a sleazebag.
Lemon thing, but he's a sleazebag. Everyone's known that. He's a washed-up. Probably, from his standpoint, the best thing that could happen to him. He's getting, he had no viewers. He was a failure. He was a failed host, and now he's in the news. I didn't know anything about it.
All right, so there's that. Now I might as well play you guys this clip. I have to. There's a pushback on that comment from the sleazebag comment.
Line question for you is: was this really about what you just described, or was it about trying to make an example out of somebody who the president has sparred with?
I don't even know that the president's even ever thought of Don Lemon. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I will tell you, we're not making examples of people. The day after that happened, the Attorney General flew to Minneapolis. She was there for 3 days. What we saw, there is no scenario under which the American people are comfortable or think that that was right. I'm sorry. So no, it's not about making an example. It's about justice.
I want to move on. But the White House, on the official Twitter handle, celebrated his arrest with the social media. And
we were actually live when this happened, and I had to redact my statement. I don't know if you guys were in this live stream, but like 30 minutes before this post, I was like, I think the Trump administration, I think they're going to be looking a little different this year. I think they're going to be toning it down with their messaging. 30 minutes later, they posted this of Don Lemon, when life gives you lemons, and then the chains. I had to redact my statement and say, never mind.
A chain emoji, and it's pretty clear that they're very well aware in the White House of this. I want to ask about Georgia.
No, I didn't say they weren't aware. Wait. Hold on one second.
And
I
they were
didn't say they weren't
celebrating
aware.
it. That was afterwards.
You said that. No. You said that President Trump had some vendetta or something against Mr. Lemon. I said I don't know whether he even ever thought of Mr. Lemon. I have no idea.
Yesterday,
You're right.
he called
there
him
was
a sleazebag.
a tweet that went out.
Just so you know, he called him a sleazebag just yesterday.
After his arrest. After his arrest.
Okay. He said a lot of things before that, and it's mutual. But let me start.
All right, so interesting interaction from CNN. I'm telling you guys, this is what Sundays look like in the media. You just have this back and forth, like these political clashes back and forth. And then when we go into Monday, there always seems to be like really big news. But speaking of big news, this was circulating heavily yesterday. You may have seen this if you are on X. So I'm trying to figure out how we should do this. Let's just let's watch the raw footage maybe, and then we will get to what this was according to Homeland Security. So we're just gonna watch this raw footage real quick. Yeah. And Trisha McLaughlin, ICE, and the actual Homeland Security page was having to comment on this. So here we go. Get ready for this. This is in Minnesota.
I think someone needs to call 911. They are seriously like attacking me.
We'll call 911 right now.
Yep.
What's your location?
Call 911. I'm right at the corner of Jefferson. Nope. No, I will not. I will not get out of the car. No. No. I will not get out of the car. You guys, I need CEOs here now.
Get out of the car.
No, I will not get out of the car. You can't do this. Get your hands off of me. Get your fucking hands off me. Get your hands off me. I am not doing shit. I am observing.
Now, he just said you're impeding a federal officer, and I'm pretty sure she just said I'm an observer.
I'm not doing shit. I am observing. I am observing. I have not done anything. This is my constitutional right.
I'm calling 911 right now.
I am not. You cannot arrest me. I'm observing.
Yeah, she is saying in the background, you cannot arrest me, I am observing. Thank you, Chad, for the $5 donation. If you think this is bad, you should see what Sundays look like in your chat. And God bless all of you guys. Thank you for being here. Again, if you're new here, we really try to seek truth. We're really big advocates for peace. And we always pray for peace. So if you guys are here, and if you guys are about that life, make sure you please subscribe and turn on your notifications. That's all we're really trying to do here.
You can't arrest me. I'm observing. You cannot. I am not doing anything.
We're taking a video too.
Get off of me. Oh.
Okay, so that clip went mega viral yesterday. Mega viral. And so Trisha McLaughlin was pretty much obviously forced to respond to this. Trisha McLaughlin says, as DHS government law enforcement conducted a targeted operation to arrest a serial criminal legal alien whose rap sheet includes multiple arrests for assault, domestic violence, and driving under the influence, an agitator began stalking and obstructing law enforcement. Law enforcement officers attempted to pull her over using their emergency lights to issue her a warning. Ignoring law enforcement commands, the agitator refused to pull over and began driving recklessly, including running stop signs, nearly colliding with multiple vehicles, and driving directly at law enforcement in an attempt to ram their vehicle. Her actions endangered law enforcement officers, the public, and allowed this violent criminal to remain at large. Our officers arrested the agitator. Obstructing law enforcement is a felony and a federal crime. That is according to Homeland Security. We also have ICE. During a targeted enforcement operation to arrest a serial criminal legal alien with multiple arrests for assault, domestic violence, and DUI, an individual began stalking and obstructing law enforcement officers. Despite officers activating emergency lights to issue a warning, the individual ignored commands, drove recklessly, running stop signs, nearly causing collision and almost ramming our law enforcement vehicles. Now, one of the main comments we're actually seeing on both sides here is we want to see the beginning of the interaction. So the clip you just saw, that was essentially the clip that is circulating. But there are some people who are, I guess, advocating or pushing for, we do want to see the first part of the interaction. By the way, I'm not saying Homeland Security is lying or anything. I'm just saying, trying to give you the full story. When you start to read through these comments, a lot of the comments are denying what Homeland Security has to say, mainly from like left-leaning sources. But yeah, you guys can let me know how you feel about that. This is also circulating right now. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about the 5-year-old and his father. Homeland Security had to come out, or Kristi Noem came out this morning and spoke on that.
Let me be clear. These families always get the opportunity to stay together. This child has been with his father, which was the father's choice. We offered them the opportunity to go home, to send them back to their home country if they would like to. The father chose to stay, and therefore we're following the legal process. But it's shocking to me the media's lies about not just that story, but day after day after day about what we do for work in this country to bring people that are dangerous criminals to justice and then remove them from our country if they don't belong here, if they came here illegally. We have the opportunity every day for people who want to go home and are in this country illegally. We give you $2,600. We buy you a plane ticket and send you home right now. That's a voluntary program. We've had millions of people take advantage of that. That is something that we still want individuals to make the right decision so they have the chance to come back to this country the right way.
Okay. Now, I think Congresswoman Omar actually posted a picture of the boy and his father have been returned back to Minnesota. I can do that for you guys real quick here. Is this her, yeah, right here. Here's Congresswoman Omar. This is her personal account. Liam is home now, and we are grateful to Joaquin Castro, Texas congressman, for traveling to Minneapolis with him and his dad. And so I will be following this story and see what this is all about. I know that there was a judge who court ordered to release them. So that is posted from Congresswoman Omar. Let us continue. Now, again, this week, we're probably going to be hearing a lot about Kristi Noem as far as her job performance. A lot of Democrats are already talking about or pushing for the possibility of impeachment if they don't get their way with reform. Here's what the president had to say about Kristi Noem recently.
How are you feeling about Secretary Noem's handling of the matters in the last week?
Well, she's did great. I mean, we have a closed border. We've taken out thousands and thousands of killers and murderers and everything else, removed them from our country by the tens of thousands, and we have the crime rate that's the lowest in history. You know, I didn't do the crime rate stats. It just came out yesterday that we have the lowest crime rate in the history of our country. So how's she doing? I think she's doing well. And she's
yeah, guys, I'm not getting indication here that the president is unhappy with Kristi Noem. Some people were indicating that there's a possibility that the president was not happy with Chief Bovino and Kristi Noem as far as their messaging after the shootings. But he doesn't seem to really have unfavorable opinions of Kristi Noem.
But you saw the video. It doesn't support anything they said. That doesn't. You don't have any concerns about that?
Well, I think what the goal is to put out all the information, do a thorough investigation.
Was that responsible for them to say that?
Well, there have been a lot of statements that have been made. I think many in advance of actually having the facts in front of us.
Well, I mean, it's not uncommon that after an event like that there's a lot of different that there's incomplete information and people jump to conclusions that on further reflection are not justified.
They said it was a massacre. Alex Purdy was trying to massacre these agents when that does not appear to be the case at all.
Yeah, I just think writ large, it's a very dangerous rhetoric from the Democrats.
Is it responsible for them to come out and make that assertion before they've done an investigation?
Well, Manu, I would just say again, I think what the president has said here is the right thing. I think the call for an investigation is the right thing.
I'm talking about the officials, not the president.
No, listen, I will just say that I think there's going to be multiple investigations.
Yeah, so there's a decent amount of Republicans, by the way, who sort of side with Democrats, if we want to use that wording or phrasing, as far as not being completely happy with the post statements from Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, did go on to Fox News and sort of explain her side of the story. So again, just wanted to show you guys again this is not fully one-sided as far as some people not being totally happy with the statements, but it's one thing to not be happy with the statements, but then not be happy with the total overall job of Kristi Noem. Again, I'm not getting a full indication from these Republicans that CNN is showing that these people don't like Kristi Noem as far as the overall job, but specifically commenting on the post-comment reactions. I think that's a different story. Now, yeah, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. The mayor of Chicago. Get ready.
Today, Mayor Brandon Johnson put federal immigration agents on notice with an executive order. With the stroke of a pen, Mayor Brandon Johnson ordered the Chicago Police Department to start investigating alleged wrongdoing by federal immigration agents.
If the federal government will not hold these rogue actors accountable, then Chicago will do everything in our power to bring these agents to justice.
And don't worry, we have that speech. We'll watch that in a second. This has always been the indication we were getting from Illinois. I think Illinois was the first state to make it very public that we are preparing or gathering evidence for possible future prosecutions. But it looks like the mayor himself in Chicago looks like he's taking that first step to want to do the prosecutions.
The ICE on Notice executive order directs members of CPD to document alleged illegal activities by both ICE and Border Protection agents so they can be held legally accountable. Evidence of wrongdoing will be referred to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for prosecution.
What the law says is that federal agents can be held accountable for state and local crimes if their actions were not necessary to further their federal obligations.
The mayor signed the directive Saturday morning, surrounded by a coalition of community leaders and local elected officials, making Chicago the first city in the nation to create a framework to pursue legal accountability for misconduct by federal immigration agents.
Yeah, and I personally do expect we're going to probably see more stuff like this. In my opinion, I think the next state or where we might see cities, in my opinion, is going to be in Oregon. Because in Oregon, a notice was already sent to the Trump administration that they might start to pursue this same exact route, start to participate in this data gathering. And we know that in Oregon, if you guys are subscribed to my channel, you have states of emergency in different counties of Oregon for ICE, Homeland Security, deportation operations. And there are advocates and protesters who want more done as far as the local police looking into the actions of Homeland Security. So again, I think we're going to start to see some of this in Oregon and possibly Washington as well.
So what we've done is essentially Trump-proof Chicago from these military tactics that are illegal and are insane.
We reached out to the Department of Homeland Security. So far, it has not commented.
But whether or not the federal government will respect our local governments and respect, how our states function, I think that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Hey, I agree. I am very interested to see how that plays out for sure. And I have not seen a response from the Trump administration. But here is the very quick statement we have from the mayor as far as what this is all about. And trust me, when I get that statement, I will be playing that for you guys. I am very curious how the Trump administration will be either acknowledging or not acknowledging this.
The ICE on Notice executive order is a step towards justice. This executive order will make Chicago the first city in the country to set the groundwork to prosecute ICE and Border Patrol agents for criminal misconduct. Because we need to send a clear message. If the federal government will not hold these rogue actors accountable, then Chicago will do everything in our power to bring these agents to justice. Yes. As part of this order, our police department will document ICE and Border Patrol activity and attempt to identify officers on the scene.
I mean, that's going to get very interesting. I have to look at the specifics of how that could happen. Like, do you walk up and take a picture? Do you walk up and ask them to take their masks down? And if you guys are just joining the show right now, the Los Angeles police chief even said he doesn't want to get involved with stuff like this, by the way. So keep that in mind. We have the notion from the Los Angeles police who's saying stuff like this is a little out there. Chicago, though, I think they're taking it to... Look, they're the first city to do it, so we don't know what's going to happen.
We'll document ICE and Border Patrol activity and attempt to identify officers on the scene. This evidence will then be preserved and, at the direction of my office, will be referred to the state's attorney's office for potential prosecution. The Trump administration has made it clear that they intend to return to our city in force in the coming spring. This order is a step towards making sure that Chicago is prepared. We will continue to learn from and work with other cities across the country as we all confront this moment. As Dr. King predicted more than 60 years ago, Chicago can serve as a model of nonviolent resistance that has the power to arouse the conscience of the nation. And so today, we see a full manifestation of the consciousness of our nation coming to life by way of the greatest city in the world, the city of Chicago.
Alrighty. Now, we already saw somewhat of a legal battle, if you will, or lack of legal battle with Chief Bovino. You guys remember Chief Bovino, Operation Midway Blitz. He was ordered to go speak in front of a judge every day to talk about what you can and can't do. There was restrictive use of tear gas and pepper balls. That all got denied. So this is not the first time we've seen legal battles between the Trump administration.
California. ICE is not welcome in LA County, and it's certainly not welcome here in Long Beach. We have seen crimes and violence escalate because of ICE across this country, and especially what's happening in Minneapolis. I will be joining Jamie Raskin, who is the ranking member and leader of the Judiciary Committee, and I'll be joining Benny Thompson, who is the leader of the Homeland Security Committee, to begin the impeachment proceedings of Kristi Noem if she does not resign or is fired in the days ahead.
I'm telling you guys, here's your disclaimer. This is what the main ask is from some Democrats. And by the way, even Senator Fetterman has said he wants Kristi Noem to leave her position. The big ask is we want Kristi Noem to either resign or the president to fire her. We just heard 5 minutes ago that's probably not going to happen considering the president is happy with Kristi Noem. And so, yeah, do prepare. The news cycle is probably going to be talking about Kristi Noem a lot and this idea of impeachment.
And this is
now, will it happen? Probably not. I don't think numerically it's possible with the numbers, but again, we will be paying attention.
And this is, of course, at the direction of Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Immigrants, people of color, and now, of course, also U.S. citizens and others are being killed, detained, maimed, hurt, oftentimes with no due process. What happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy was murder by our own government. And our committee is working right now on a major report on both of those incidents so that those that are responsible are held accountable. There must be accountability, and we're directing that impeachment. I want to be crystal clear. ICE is not welcome here, and ICE cannot continue to exist to cause harm to our communities. And with that, Senator Gonzalez.
All right. There is that. Now, I want to talk about this. So if you guys are just joining the show, again, at the very beginning, we talked about how President Trump specifically referenced Eugene, Oregon. And speaking of Oregon, somebody left a very generous $20 donation. Thank you. Good morning. That's from Stephanie. Stephanie says, good morning. I'm from Oregon and have lived here my whole life, and I'm so embarrassed by my state government. After what took place on Friday in Eugene, active duty should have been called in. Thanks for all you do, T-SPLY, and God bless you, and thank you as well. President Trump specifically referenced Eugene, Oregon. Now, for those of you who ever hear anything about Oregon and protest, you typically hear about Portland. But Eugene, the federal building there, we had quite the clashes between federal agents and protesters. So much so that the building had to get boarded up. And this is reminding me a lot of what happened at the Portland federal building, as far as having to board up that building. That cost $220,000, by the way, to board up the Portland federal building. I don't know how much this cost. The number hasn't come out, but this has happened.
Thank you for your time. Building's Please go to the sidewalk.
Can you tell us a little bit of the damage caused last night?
Now, just like the Portland Federal Building, this is a pretty big facility, and so this is obviously going to cost a good amount of money. That was from Katie Davis Court on X. If you guys want to go give her a follow and go support her, I'm sure you guys have probably heard about her before, but that was from Katie Davis Court. Now, we have a clip from Honey Badger Mom. This happened last night. So the clip you just saw, and again, if you want to go follow Honey Badger Mom, here's her account. The clip you just saw of the building getting boarded up, this is the same day or going into the night. So this was last night. You can see the boarded up areas.
Must be on the, there's a door where that person on the bike is waving. That's the main entrance. It looks to me like, oh.
Now, it looks like they did end up arresting someone right here.
I didn't do anything.
And guys, remember, the president gave a directive to federal agents that you guys can be more aggressive. I mean, quite literally in the statement, he is saying, given the directive, we're not going to allow protesters to just get in the way. We're not going to allow them to make physical contact. And so this is after that directive or statement from President Trump. And again, this is Eugene, Oregon, and the president specifically referenced Eugene, Oregon.
Hey, please.
Now, later in the night, Honey Badger Mom was able to capture this.
There were just several volleys of tear gas. They came out and cleared everybody off of federal property. Tear gas across the street. That's a lot of tear gas.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
Oh. Is that yours? Kind of situations are.
All right, so I will be keeping you up to date with this as far as we might possibly see an escalation of Eugene, Oregon, as far as protesters being in this area. And just so you guys are aware, just if you're not familiar with Oregon, Eugene, Oregon is down here where my cursor is. Right up the road is Salem, and then up the road is Portland. And speaking of Portland, I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on some of the events that occurred last night. This was also last night. So the video you just saw was last night in Eugene. Now we're up in Portland. Now, for those of you who have probably not been paying attention to Portland for a while, or you may have not been hearing about Portland in the news, just so you guys are aware, more protesters are starting to show back up. It's no more like just a handful of protesters and some people are standing around. It looks like things are starting to intensify just a little bit. All right. And this is going to be from, let me pull this up, just to give credit to Haley. This is going to be from Haley if you guys want to go follow her, Haley West. And she also has a YouTube channel. If you look up Haley West, you guys can go subscribe to her as well. But she was out in Portland. And if you guys ever want like raw footage of Portland, she's definitely a great source. Honey Badger Mom and Katie Davis Court, also great sources. Now, this was in Los Angeles last night. Here's Ryan. If you guys want to go follow Ryan, here's what he captured last night on the ground in Los Angeles at their federal building.
Which is good. You see some more Americans die. You see some more undocumented people die. We want to know that. We want to know why you guys want to ignore that.
Yeah, so that happened last night in Los Angeles. And Bill Aselli actually commented on that and said, "We're not playing. We have surged federal officers to protect our property and our employees. I have authorized probable cause arrest for those who break the law, and they will be charged federally." So again, we're seeing a more aggressive posture from the Trump administration, even coming from Bill Aselli, and also coming from the president himself. Now, this is going to be from Frontlines TPUSA, if you guys want to go give them a follow. This was in a Target in Minnesota. You guys have probably seen some clips here and there of a Target being protested in Minnesota. Well, Frontlines USA was actually able to capture what it looks like.
The people united will never be defeated. 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 The people united will never be defeated.
It's like the cops finally showed up.
Down, fuckers.
Why aren't you arresting these people? You guys are being very patient.
CEOs benefit from Trump's pro-billionaire policy.
All right, so that is from Frontlines USA. If you guys want to go give them a follow, and that's what that looks like in there. Thank you for that coverage. And that is pretty much the most relevant information you guys are going to get as far as what is currently happening right now. Again, the biggest news to me is this posture change of the statements from the Trump administration. Federal agents, you now have full authority to really push back. If you get spit on, push back. Bricks thrown at you, you can push back and do what you have to do. Obviously being backed up with the court of law as well. And then also the Trump administration announcing if you are a city and you're crumbling and you're not asking for help, you're not going to be getting help. That's what the Trump admin is acknowledging as well, or saying. So, yeah, I fully expect this week we're going to see a lot of back and forth, especially rhetoric as far as the masks with ICE agents, statements from Chief Bovino, or what Chief Bovino said and what Kristi Noem said, investigations, how those are being handled. I think this week we're going to be seeing a lot of that because we are technically in the shutdown, and the shutdown is revolving around the funding for Homeland. Or the reform for ICE, as a lot of Democrats want. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope I was as fair as possible. And I hope you guys please pray for peace, especially those still affected by the ice storm. I think there are still tens of thousands of people in Nashville still without power, which is, that's a whole other situation. I might make a video on that. Hope you guys are all doing well. And God bless all of you. And I really appreciate all of you guys as well. Thank you guys so much for helping make this channel a success as far as these live streams. It's been a lot of fun. And we're going to continue. So, thank you guys so much. Again, God bless all of you. And make sure to seek Christ as a Christian. Obviously, I'm going to say that. So, love you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything. God bless. And we will see you all later. Again, please pray for peace. Even if you don't agree with anything that you're seeing here, at least advocate and pray for peace. Thank you guys so much for everything, and we'll see you all later. Thank you.